You just got stopped out of your trade again because you don't understand where liquidity lives on your chart. You don't understand when it's been swept, and you don't understand when price is hunting liquidity. So if you don't know those things, you are literally trading blind because markets move through the process of sweeping and hunting liquidity. So we're looking at the 1 hour time frame on USDCAD, and I want to look at how you would essentially map this market to understand where liquidity sits, what price wants to do next. So we know those things, we can start to take high probability trades. So let's get started. So anyone looking to short this market this morning just got stopped out because this is a liquidity sweep, and I want to show you why. So this is the 1 hour time frame. In isolation, pure noise. Do not try and trade any time frame without understanding higher time frame candles. And if we're trading the 1 hour, we really want to understand 12-hour behavior, 1-day behavior, 2-day behavior to get a read on what price wants to do next. And it's all about price targeting liquidity. So the first thing I want to do is bring in the 12-hour candle. So what we see is that behind our 1 hour price action, we have our 12-hour candles. Price was running higher, sold off aggressively, and then built this range here. So what we see is on the 12-hour time frame, we built a high and a low right here. Here's the high, here's the low. Price then sweeps the liquidity at the low of its previous candle. How do we see this? We see price selling off. Anyone here looking to short the market is shorting into the sweep of a previous candle on the 12-hour time frame. We then get a shift, some consolidation, and ultimately close right here. This is the close of the 12-hour candle. You see, here's the open, here's the low, here's the high, here's the close. And what has this candle done? It has closed inside its previous range. So when this candle closes right here, it has swept the liquidity of its previous candle. So what this means is that on the 12-hour time frame, price has done its job. It is now saying, I want to reverse. We've swept the liquidity, we've closed inside the range. Where is the next level of liquidity? It's at the high of the candle that has been swept. Price accumulates, manipulates, and now will distribute to the opposing liquidity. So this is how you start to mark up where liquidity lives on your chart. We have a 12-hour target. Now, this level here has already been swept. So the next level in the market is here at the low of the previous 12-hour candle. But this is not a target for price because this manipulation candle has closed inside the range of the previous candle. So it's actually an invalidation level. This is a protected level on the 12-hour time frame. Price accumulates, manipulates, closes inside the range. We're now looking to see distribution to this level here. This is where anyone shorting this market is likely to have put their stop loss. So what is price looking to do? Raid that liquidity. However, manipulation literally prints on every time frame, on every asset all day long. And just seeing manipulation on one higher time frame is not a reason to take a trade. We need to actually understand, is this 12-hour setup, is this 12-hour manipulation also looking to get swept, or is it part of a higher time frame move which has also already swept liquidity? Which sounds complicated, but it's really not. So let's just leave these levels right here. We have a 12-hour invalidation level, we have a 12-hour target. Now let's bring in the daily candle. So I'm going to take away the 12-hour. What do we now see? Well, price built a range on the daily time frame. Here's the high, and here is the low. So you see, this is the low of the candle. So when price sold off, yes, it was liquidating a 12-hour candle, but it was also liquidating a daily candle. And the daily has now closed inside the previous range. So we have swept the liquidity at the low of the previous daily candle. We've closed inside the range. So the next area that price may now want to target is the liquidity at the opposing end of the daily range, which is all the way up here. So this is now our daily target. And this level here is not just a 12-hour invalidation level, it's a daily invalidation level, because the daily has already completed its job. So if you're trying to short this morning into this level, you're shorting into a 12-hour and daily invalidation level. So it's no wonder the price then shifted. But we have 12-hour, we have the daily. How far do we take this? Well, we definitely want to look at the 2-day. So if we bring in the 2-day candle, we see something different, which is something we need to open our eyes to. Price built a range on the 2-day candle. And what happened when this 2-day candle closed right here is it closed inside the previous candle's range. So the 2-day is looking to target this level here. This is the 2-day target. And actually this level here, the daily target, is the 2-day invalidation level. So we have now a mixed picture. If I bring back the 1-day time frame, we have the 12-hour nesting here inside the daily, looking to distribute higher to target this liquidity at the 12-hour target and this liquidity at the daily target. But the 2-day has already swept the liquidity in this region here and is looking to reverse. So we're at somewhat of a stalemate. But we don't need to just stop there. We can keep working up the timeframes. And what we see crucially is that as this 2-day was looking to distribute, it was distributing into a weekly candle closure. And this weekly candle has just closed above its previous candle. So the weekly is now looking to continue. There was no liquidity here or supply which pushed price down. It's already sort of worked its way through the sell pressure and closed above the previous range. So yes, price can still dump, but the more probable target is for price to continue. So we now have a daily target, a 2-day invalidation, and a weekly target, which in my book almost negates the 2-day invalidation level. And the 2-day target is now a weekly invalidation level. Now, the whole point of Cascade trading, which is something that I'm not talking about in this video, is to understand, is then the weekly supported? And what does the higher time frame actually want to do relative to, the time frames that nest within it? But if you're looking to day trade, if you're looking to get in and out of positions quicker, then we don't necessarily need to work all the way up the time frames. What we have now is a clear view of where liquidity exists on this chart. Now, if we come back to our 1-hour execution time frame, or if you want to use the 2-hour, the 4-hour, what do we now see? We have a clean order block sitting right here. So we have sell pressure, buy pressure. So now we're looking at internal range liquidity. And the internal range liquidity sits in this order block here. And if price just continues to consolidate for the next hour, we'll also have a fair value gap. If you're looking to long this market, here's target 1, and here's your swing target up here. Now, as new candles print, new liquidity is created. But if we're looking at a view of this market right now, are you shorting to the 2-day target, or are you longing to the 12-hour, daily, and weekly target? For me, it's about hedging your bets. Nothing in trading is certain. However, we can hedge our bets by understanding where liquidity sits and trading towards what we think is more of the high probability scenario. So that's a live read on USDCAD. And this is exactly what I was looking at, this exact same picture when price sold off this morning. And of course, if you have this view, you can then drop down into lower timeframes to try and front run even that shift in the market. But that's something probably even more complex. So now we want to go to an example that's already played out. And I want to show you how you could have used this exact same view to short silver last week. So we're looking again at the 1-hour time frame. If I bring in, let's just use the daily time frame. What do we actually see here? Well, we see price built a range right here. Here's the high, and here is the low. So we have a range building. So as soon as this daily candle closed here at this point, the invalidation level, as I just mapped, becomes the high of the candle that manipulated. So this becomes our daily invalidation level. And we're targeting this level here. This is where the active liquidity sat on the daily time frame as soon as this candle printed. Manipulation has already occurred. We're now looking to distribute. What about the 2-day time frame? So if I bring this in, we see the 2-day had already closed. The 2-day was a continuation candle. It closed below its previous candle. So it was also looking to distribute. This was the daily target and the 2-day target. So we had a nested manipulation candle on the daily time frame sitting within a 2-day continuation candle. What about the weekly time frame? If we bring in the weekly was also looking to distribute. Price built a range, traded higher, closed here inside the previous range. So the weekly target was here, right the way down here. Weekly target. Built a range, manipulated the range, now looking to distribute. So then if we come back to our candle here, as soon as this candle closes, you see we have this nest of order blocks. So you could have taken a position here, you could have gone to the 2-hour, the 4-hour, the 6-hour and taken something with more leeway in your actual stop. But if you wanted to execute on the hourly time frame, there's an order block. You could use that swing point or this swing point. You see you have huge R multiples, 3R to the daily target and 6R to the weekly target. And it's all through understanding where liquidity lives in the market. If you're thinking about a liquidity sweep, this is the sweep. It's sweeping the liquidity at the high of this previous candle. So if you like this way of trading, please subscribe to the channel because there's a lot more coming, and check out my live structure terminal, candlerange.com. This literally tells you where manipulation and continuation candles print on every asset and every time frame. And there's so much more coming on Candle Range, including a lot of education on trading liquidity and higher time frame candles. So I'll see you on the next one.